has taken a lot from us in the past 2 years, and I'm very sad to announce another mortality. Hot chicks no longer getting better grades because they're hot. I know, it's not fair. What's the point? What's the point of working out, of getting a nose job, of wearing loads of makeup, if it's not going to result in at least a B? Who are we supposed to be looking hot for? Men? No, it was always for the grades. Oh, well, I guess it's time to trade in our mini skirts and push-up bras for giant fuzzy onesies. We already know that there are certain advantages to being attractive, as considered by the society around you. We tend to consider attractive people to be more trustworthy, more confident, more intelligent, and other positive traits that we push onto them. And then many of them, unwittingly or not, benefit from those projections with better jobs, higher wages, and probably more free items slipped to them by the cuter Trader Joe's cashiers. Like, come on, we all know what's happening. Give me a glow up and send me through the basket only line, and I guarantee I'm paying like half of what I would pay if I were dressed like this. This study was done by Adrian Mihik, an economist at Lund University in Sweden, who examined 307 students' grade data across time in classes that switched from in-person to online in the midst of COVID. And then he had an independent panel of their peers rate their attractiveness. And he concluded, as education moved online following the onset of the pandemic, the grades of attractive female students deteriorated. This finding implies that the female beauty premium observed when education is in person is likely to be chiefly a consequence of discrimination. On the contrary, for male students, there was still a significant beauty premium even after the introduction of online teaching. The latter finding suggests that for males in particular, beauty can be a productivity-enhancing attribute. Well then, call up Matt Walsh, because we've got a clear example of anti-male discrimination here. Oh, hold on. Before we do that, though, there are a few notes that you should consider. For instance, this paper already made quite the splash in and around Lund University when it dropped about 2 weeks ago. And the main issue that came to light then was that none of the subjects knew that they were subjects in this study. Mihik just collected their grades and then hit up Facebook and Instagram and took their profile pictures and then had a bunch of other students rate how hot they were. If there was more than one photo on the person's social media site, Mihik explained that he just picked which one he thought was prettiest. And the subjects in this study found out when their own university, because these are all students at Lund University, including students that are in Mihik's classes, published this paper that anonymized their data by including them in the raw data, listed under their gender, age, parents' income, grades, and average income of their hometown. According to the school newspaper, an earlier edition of the raw data also contained the parents, county, and municipality, and that a student that this paper spoke to, who does not want to be named, states that it took her 3 minutes to find herself. When many, many scientists pointed out to Mihik that this was wildly unethical, he insisted, if you post pictures of yourself on social media so that everyone in the whole world can take part in them, they will be used not only for research purposes, but also for commercial purposes. If you don't want your data to be used, you shouldn't have any accounts on social media, he says. Wow, he seems great and very knowledgeable about privacy law. What an awesome personality to go with that 10 out of 10 face. Okay, so it's just a little ethical problem, right? The data is still sound. Well, you know how I'm always blah, blah, blahing about how great pre-registered studies are? That's when researchers publicly acknowledge what their hypothesis is before they start their study. And they also detail, like what statistical analyses they're going to use. That would have been great here. And the fact that this is not pre-registered brings up some pointed questions. For instance, let me quote from the study, emphasis mine here. The results suggest that the switch to online learning did not result in an overall deterioration of the grades of high attractive students. Well, that's weird. In fact, the only way that they could find a statistically significant result was to look specifically at high attractive women. And even then they didn't get it. To get the result, they had to look at women who were very attractive who were taking non-quantitative courses. Mahik says he decided to break up classes into two groups. All mathematics and physics courses are classified as quantitative, and the remainder are considered non-quantitative. Non-quantitative courses have a higher share of group assignments, seminars, and oral presentations, whereas mathematics and physics courses rely almost exclusively on final written exams. Thus, in non-quantitative subjects, teachers are more likely to interact with and get to know students, making it reasonable to expect that the beauty premium is higher in non-quantitative courses. Except, non-quantitative courses also included things like programming, which programming students at the university argue is about as quantitative as it comes, seeing as the grade is entirely based on an anonymous programming exam. Look, if this study had been pre-registered with the hypothesis, attractive women, but not men, will see worse grades when these specific non-quantitative classes switch from in-person to online, then I'd be much more willing to believe that this was anything other than p-hacking. Sadly, it wasn't, so I'm not. By the way, Mahik's hypothesis for why attractive men, but not women, continue to do well offline in non-quantitative classes is something you might have noticed earlier, but I'll reread it. Taken together, these results suggest that the beauty premium in education is due to discrimination for females, whereas for male students, it is primarily the result of a productivity-enhancing attribute. Absolutely incredible. So the final conclusion here is that hot women get better grades because they're being unfairly advantaged just for being hot bimbos, but attractive men get better grades because being attractive makes them harder workers. Yeah, that sounds great. No notes. Perfect study. For real, though, this is a garbage study. It's certainly possible that hot people did worse when classes moved online, but this study does not show it. And it's also possible to unethically gather data, but still produce solid research from it. But this study isn't it. So I guess it's time to, unfortunately, take off the onesies, change back into the push-up bras. Ladies, we gotta get those good grades. Sorry.